Decades ago, I started growing food in my front and backyard, and I realized that my mission in life is to inspire and empower others to grow their own nutrient-dense, healthy organic food. Because of this, a lot of people have come to me with their gardening questions over the years, and that got me thinking, what if we put together a community that would help budding gardeners blossom? So I finally made the idea a reality with my Urban Farm U member program. Each month, your membership includes 3 live online events, a monthly class, a chit-chat with an expert, and a monthly coaching session, plus access to the experts on our member page and a significant discount on our signature courses. I'm deeply committed to transforming our global food system, and I do this by empowering you to grow your own food. The Urban Farm membership program is a simple way to get going. Please join me in transforming your food system today. To learn more, go to urbanfarmmembership.org or text membership to 33444. That's urbanfarmmembership.org or text membership to 33444.
You're listening to the Urban Farm Podcast, your partner in the Grow Your Own Food revolution. Whether you've just been introduced to urban farming or you're a lifelong advocate, we're sure you'll leave feeling more informed, equipped, and empowered to dig deeper into the soil of your local food economy. With you every step of the way, here's your host, Greg Peterson.
Today on the Urban Farm Podcast, we have Heather Grove of Fleet Farming to talk about her experience with growing food in donated lawns. Heather co-created Stetson University's Garden and Farmers Market and served as the founding community director of Orlando's East End Market. After interning with the USDA, researching food systems in Central Florida and abroad, Heather returned to her hometown to help build Orlando's local food system in 2011, where she helped bring fleet farming to life. She now works on sustainable agriculture and rural development projects abroad while consulting new branches of fleet farming around the world. Welcome to the show today, Heather.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So I shared a bit about you. Can you fill in the blanks for us and share more about the path you took to get where you're at now?
For sure. So I pretty much in college, I started to take interest in growing food and local food systems because I was volunteering with an agroforestry organization in Guatemala. I had the opportunity to go and work there for a little bit and seeing, just the impact that food systems can have on not only these communities, but especially women. It was really empowering. And so I decided to come back, and with 2 friends at Stetson University in DeLand, Florida, we started our university's community garden and first local farmers market, which has now become the city's local farmers market. And it's grown into this big event downtown, which, originally started on campus and was really small, just, a few vendors. And so from there, I graduated in 2011, and I helped co-found East End Market, which is in Orlando, Florida. It's our first public market and local food hub. So it has vendor stalls for incubating local food businesses. It has an incubator kitchen, a community space where we host events and partner with all different types of groups in the community. And it's actually where we hosted the first event, which was called The Hive. And it's run by a nonprofit called Ideas for Us, which is international, but based out of Orlando, Florida. And there, The Hive is a think and do tank focused on sustainability and the 5 pillars of food, waste, energy, ecology, and I always forget the last one.
It's all right.
And that other one.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And so, so there we were talking about how do we localize food systems. And it just so happened that this idea of localizing food systems by converting people's lawns to farms and then using bikes to travel from farmlet to farmlet to take care of the plots and harvest and maintain, but then also using volunteer power to maintain the plot. So at this event, we kind of piloted this idea, and we converted 3 lawns in the local neighborhood into farmlets. And from there, that was back in 2013. And now we have 15 plots in Orlando. And the program has become what we call fleet farming. And we also have a branch in Oakland, California, and Kampala, Uganda. And we're quickly spreading. So it's become this really crazy journey from what I thought would just be working. I've worked with the USDA and the Natural Resource Conservation Service to all different types of things. My experience in the local food system has really been very broad, and I've experienced a lot of different things, but the way I came about starting fleet farming was very special, and definitely wouldn't have happened without the partnerships that I built in the community back in Orlando.
So it's also,
long story short.
That's okay. It's also very global. I think I hear chickens in the background, do I not?
Yeah. And I'm actually in Bali right now, and a part of this year I'm exploring and learning a lot about different sustainable farming methods throughout Southeast Asia, and hopefully getting to work on some projects. I was working in West Thailand for a while with Burmese refugees on a sustainable ag project. So it's been a fun year, and being able to take all I've learned through fleet farming to other places and continue to do that throughout the next couple of years.
So did you go to Oakland, California and start the fleet farming thing, or did somebody there decide?
Yes. So I've been there, but somebody there who's actually one of the board members of Ideas for Us actually started the second chapter of fleet farming there. And they are doing an amazing job. They actually are about to surpass Orlando's square footage in terms of growing space.
Nice.
So it's kind of like this friendly competition now.
Absolutely.
Which chapter is growing more? And so they're about to surpass us. But and we actually have had, we started a toolkit. So I helped write a toolkit on how to start fleet farming in your own neighborhood. And we've sold over 45 of those toolkits in the last just year. And so now one of my roles is helping all these different cities start chapters of their own. And so we also are starting a franchising toolkit, and that'll be coming out just within a couple months, and helping people to really start the branding, because it's taken us 3 years to really nail down a lot of the little technicalities of spreadsheets, of how to track your sales and how to track your crop plans and stickers and marketing materials and everything from email sign-up sheets to how to take care of integrated pest management tips. And there's a lot that goes into fleet farming that, it took some time recording every little step, but that is so valuable. And just within the first 2 years, being able to track everything that we did, we wanted to be able to share that with other people that wanted to start similar programs. So instead of having to recreate this all from scratch, we provide that all in the toolkit. So we have a Google Drive folder that people can download and edit as they wish. But so that franchising toolkit will be coming out within a couple months.
Wow. What is the thought process that got you to the point of franchising this thing?
Well, we never really in the beginning aimed to franchise. In the beginning it was like, well, we just want people to be growing food and lawns. That's all we want.
Yeah.
But we soon realized that there's a lot of value in keeping the name of fleet farming, because just within the last couple of months, we've had so much press, and it's been amazing. It's kind of funny how one outlet picks you up, and it's like this crazy wildfire that spreads. And so, just to keep the integrity of fleet farming going, we want to be able to provide that to other people. And I think it's really important that we're more than just an urban farming organization. There's a lot more that goes into it. We're a nonprofit, and so our main goal is educating people how to grow food. Nice. And we recently just received a grant, actually this past week, it's called Playground City, and you can go to playgroundcity.org. And this is a new model of education that's based on badges. So instead of getting a degree in something, you get a digital backpack where you can develop badges, whether it's for everything from surfing to farming, And so we're developing a badge for urban farming. And that's something that we're really focused on, is educating people how to farm. And what I think some of the other urban farming programs are missing is this aspect of how to effectively educate while you are running a business, because we are a business, and we have 3 employees that we currently we have a farm manager, our program coordinator, and also our farm installation manager. And so with those 3 positions, it's a lot to pay 3 people.
Oh, yeah.
you have to grow a lot of food to pay 3 people. So, but the other important part is just education and making sure that we're fulfilling those goals as a nonprofit. And so the whole reason we decided to franchise, instead of just open sourcing our information and allowing anybody to go out and start a similar program with a different name, was because we wanted to really make sure that people were learning how to grow food and learning how to grow food in their own lawns and what to do with it and so on. So,
So are these homeowners that are doing this?
Yeah. So to give a little, about fleet farming, there's always a ton more information at fleetfarming.com, but the program is based on people, anybody from pretty much a 3-mile radius, donating their lawn. Typically it's a front lawn, and it hasn't been treated with pesticides or any type of chemical fertilizers, any herbicides over the past 3 years. They can donate that space, and then we go in, solarize, till it, and put in a farmlet using the SPIN model, which is the small plot intensive farming model.
Nice.
And we work closely with them. We're about to be on a webinar later this week with them as well. So we're really transparent about our numbers and want to help share all that we've learned through this process. So we'll be talking about our income and making it profitable, this urban farming program. So from there, people donate their space, and they get to harvest as much as they'd like for their own use, their family's use, which typically isn't more than 10% of what we grow in their yard. And those farmlets typically range from about 500 to 1,000 square feet. And then there's so much potential for it to be different as well. So other chapters, like the one in Oakland, California, they actually farm on a community garden space that had empty plots. We also have a church that donated about 3,000 square feet. And there's a lot of different potential ways to use empty space that's, underutilized. So that's how that works. And then from there, we grow mainly greens, salad greens, because they're high value crops, and we're able to cut and come again and harvest and harvest and harvest up to almost even 5 times, and get as much value as we can from the crop. So there, once we've harvested everything, we sell in Orlando to about 3 chefs, local chefs. We sell at a local farmer's market, and then to a local produce shop.
Nice.
And then in California, Oakland, they sell to 6 chefs, and then also to a co-op situation, just a local food co-op. And in Kampala, Uganda, they have an interesting program where they're actually they've totally invented this. It's a vertical growing system that kind of looks like a pyramid, where you put compost in the center. And they're teaching people how to grow that at their own homes. And from there, so they are very urban in Kampala, so it's totally adapted to their own area. And so there they sell locally to restaurants and stuff as well. But it's primarily for the own homeowners' usage. So it's a little different everywhere it goes. And that's the beauty of fleet farming, I think.
So it sounds to me like fleet farming has a model, but then you encourage the people that are fleet farmers to innovate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
With all kinds of cool, different, innovative things.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how is this different from a community garden?
It's funny because in the beginning, one of the reasons we started fleet farming was because our local community garden had run out of space. And there were a lot of people in the community that wanted a plot, but it was excluding a lot of people. So fleet farming is a really cool way to still have a communal feel. And I think that's probably one of the most unexpected parts for me. I didn't realize the sense of community that fleet farming was going to create. But we host events twice a month or every other Sunday called the Swarm Ride. And anybody is invited out, and they join us on bicycles because this whole program, like I said, is bike powered. We have trailers that hook up to our bikes, and we put our tools and bins that we put all of our harvested greens in, and travel from plot to plot. So anybody's invited out, and then we go typically to like 3 to 5 plots, and people are able to experience farming and learn with us, whether we're tilling that day or spreading compost or seeding, harvesting, whatever we're working on that day, people are able to partake in. And so it's an interesting concept because instead of having one community garden plot, we're actually like a distributed agriculture model of like a distributed community garden across. And it's a genuine community garden because these homeowners from the community are giving up their plots and their land to educate their own community. And just seeing this, familiar faces coming out week after weekend.
Nice.
It's really created a really great group of people, not only in Orlando, but so far in all of our branches that are genuinely interested in learning how to grow food. So I think that's, one of the biggest differences just from a one plot community garden is that it opens it up to anyone. Yeah. Even if they don't grow their own food themselves, they're still able to come out and learn.
Tell me about, so this was an idea that you and a couple of friends had, but there's a lot more energy behind it now. Tell me about that energy.
Yeah, so it's so special in Orlando because we have a really great community in Audubon Park, Florida. There's the East End Market, which has kind of become the hub for local food. And right now they're actually just wrapping up their Florida Local Food Conference. And they're just a great hub for all things local food. And so there we have this incubator kitchen where we're able to trade time and process all of our greens there. They also have a market garden that we farm and grow food, for the market as well. So at East End Market, there's a nonprofit called Ideas for Us. It's international, and they hosted an event there called The Hive. And so Ideas for Us is our sponsor organization, and they have all different types of solutions, environmental solutions, from clean water projects to this whole playground city that I was talking about with the badges and a whole new way of education system pretty much. So it's a really interesting community because not only is fleet farming based, through people's houses, but we have East End Market and then the Audubon Park Community Market, which is a local farmers market, the only all local farmers market, which is audited and really screened, actually, in Orlando. So, it's become it's a really interesting community partnership just between a bunch of organizations. But Ideas for Us has really taken the lead in making this a really successful program.
Yeah, and it's really got a life of its own, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's a beast for sure.
Sweet. So I'm going to shift on you, and I'd like for you to talk about a time you failed, how you overcame that failure, and what you might have learned from it.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest failures in terms of just farming in general is patience. We all just want to see everything grow so fast and, get things in the ground. And it's been 2.5 years since we started. And that's an incredible short-term period to already be profitable.
Oh, yeah.
To have 3 employees, So in a lot of ways, it's a success. But I would say, personally, I've had a couple failures in the beginning, just in terms of, not being patient and being forgiving with yourself, and all the lessons there is to be learned in terms of not just farming, but running a business, and understanding that, farming is a commitment. It's a huge commitment in terms of running a business.
Yeah.
And so I just think in a broad sense, that was probably just one of the biggest failures in the beginning, was, not completely understanding the business aspects behind it. But SPIN has been an incredible resource, the small plot intensive farming program, and starting to understand a little bit more in terms of accounting and, all those little logistics. But I think that was probably the biggest hurdle to overcome in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have a whole bunch of roosters in the background, don't you?
Well, yeah, it's now reaching 6 a.m., so the sun is about to come up. And yes. So what do you consider your biggest success? Oh, gosh. With fleet farming, I think it's just been the ability to create this international community. It's incredible how many people have reached out just wanting to donate their lawns from the U.S. to Germany and Australia, Philippines. I mean, we've been mapping it out. There's over 400 people that want to start branches of fleet farming. And
wow.
I think the greatest success has just been able to share the story of what we've been doing. And I mean, that's not our doing it by any means. It's been an incredible effort and shared effort of the press and just our community. But I think that's probably the greatest success, is just showing people that fleet farming and urban farming it's an option. I think, we see like these posts and photos of people converting their lawns to farmlets, and there's so much negative media out there, this city is trying to ban front yard gardens, and this city has recently, placed these restrictions and blah, blah, blah. But I think just being able to show that it's working is probably our greatest success, to give that hope and show that it's possible. And especially giving the tools now to show people how that they can do it in their own community. Yeah. I think that's probably one of the biggest questions we get when somebody's starting to consider starting a chapter in their own neighborhood is, oh, well, I don't know, I have a homeowners association that doesn't permit gardens, or my city doesn't allow front yard gardens. And so even starting on that very beginning basis of showing them how they can approach their city and, start these conversations at a higher level about what sustainable food systems look like and how important it is to allow people to grow their own food. I think that's probably one of the biggest successes is that. Nice. Yeah.
So my sense is you're fairly young still.
Yeah, I'm 27.
And I have to know, there's a drive behind you.
Yeah.
That, I'm 55, and it's been there for me since I was 15, but I don't see that kind of drive around food, around young people generally. What drives you? Tell us more about that.
It's been kind of funny. I've had some really amazing mentors and influences in my life, including my grandfather, who very different from me, but was in the military and actually had an interesting experience in Vietnam with, he was a part of recon missions. Wow. But, even though he was in the military, just seeing his servant leadership and kind of this life of service that he led. And I really looked up to him as I got older, and I developed a really close relationship with him. And from that, started to respect that in my other mentors. So I think, I've seen how the life of a servant can impact communities and what it means to be a servant. And for me, that's something that I really am trying to encompass throughout my life, no matter what I do in any career that I have. And, when I helped start this market back in Orlando, Easton Market, I was mostly focused on marketing and communications, but developing a mission-driven marketing scheme and, really putting a mission behind everything that I do that relates back to whether it's environmentalism or, for me, local food has just been the way to relate to most issues, whether it's social, environmental, especially in the environmental world. I mean, everything from water, pollution, energy, everything can be solved through food production and distribution systems. So I think for me, it's just, especially in the food realm, it's this drive to make for the greater good of the world.
Cool.
Always.
Right. So I'm all about education. I have to know, is there one book that has been impactful for you in this process?
Actually, yes. I mean, I as most people that are working in food and farming would probably reference Wendell Berry, and I have to give him props. I was really lucky. I got to actually serve him salad that I grew at Stetson University. He came to speak.
Oh my God, really?
2000. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I got to have dinner with him and serve him a salad, that we got to grow ourselves from the university. And I had been reading his books since high school, and really. So between him and then there's also Helena Norberg Hodge, who wrote a book called Ancient Futures. And it's about her experience in Ladakh, northwest India. Northwest India. One of the places that I still hope to get to travel to in my lifetime. But it's all about just small economies and how the effect that has on happiness.
Oh, nice.
And I read this book. I read it back in, I think I was in 10th grade or so. And it really changed my whole perspective on what I wanted to do with my life. I always wanted to be a marine biologist, but it really broadened my perspective on just environmentalism and how it doesn't have to be something. I don't have to be a biologist to save, the planet. There's so many other ways to go about it, especially localizing economies is a great way to start.
Yeah.
So
what was the name of that book again?
Ancient Futures by Helena Norberg Hodge.
Ancient Futures. Yeah, I've heard of that book. I haven't read it yet. But...
And she has a conference now that's annual called The Economics of Happiness, which is based on her nonprofit that she recently started.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So what one final piece of advice do you have for our listeners?
Oh, geez. In terms of gardening, urban farming, or...
Make something up.
Yeah, I mean...
This is your platform.
I think I would just say advice to just keep going. I think a lot of times in this world of urban farming, especially local food systems, anything in the environmental world, it's a battle. We're in a big battle right now. We're fighting a lot,
Yeah.
And all I can say is to not give up. We're all in it together, and sometimes I think it's really easy to get a little complacent and just
discouraged, maybe.
Yeah, a little discouraged about where things are headed. But I think once you're in it and you can start seeing the little effects that it's having just on a day-to-day basis. This person reaches out with an email saying, I learned how to grow these types of tomatoes, or, it's the little things that you start to see having a really huge impact. And for me, that's my biggest inspiration. So I just encourage everybody out there to keep going.
Nice.
And keep sharing everything that you learn. I think sometimes it's easy to just want to, especially with farmers, I think we like to get our hands in the dirt and use that as our own meditation.
Yep,
especially
absolutely.
me. I really enjoy kind of using that time for myself, but it's really important to share that with others. And even though it can be a challenge at times, it's important to keep sharing everything we're learning.
Cool. So before we wrap this up, you're in Bali.
Yes.
What is, and it's early in the day there. What's in, and we hear, we've been hearing the roosters in the background. What's your day made up of today?
Well, today I am actually in a town called Canggu near the beach, and I'm going to be headed back to where I'm living. I'm living at a yoga ashram in a small village called Abiyan Samal. So when I get back there, I'll be gardening and farming. There's a permaculture garden that somebody started 1.5 years ago that I've taken over. So I'm actually going to be transplanting sweet potato slips and spraying our homemade, pesticides and trying to keep all the bugs away. We're right near a river, and all the bugs just really love our garden. So taking care of that, planting some flowers, and I'm actually going to be headed to a place called the Green School, which has an amazing farm called the Kul Farm, Kulkul. So if anybody out there is planning to come to Indonesia, definitely mark the Kul Farm on your maps as a stop. They teach permaculture retreats, and right now they're actually running something called the Bamboo University, teaching people how to grow bamboo and build with sustainable resources. So nice. I'm going to be headed there for a little bit. And right now I'm also going to be on my computer this afternoon quite a bit, consulting with some cities that are interested in expanding to
the Fleet
chapters.
Farm.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? I am amazed and blown away and love what you're up to. So congratulations for taking that on. And it's amazing what, being in this digital world, how we're able to grow this program. I never would have thought, in a million years that we would have chapters in Africa and that I'd be speaking regularly with our chapter leaders there. But, sometimes they're actually already, in the 6 months that they've been growing, way surpassed Orlando in terms of how much they've grown and just the number of volunteers they've had. So it's really amazing. It's really a blessing to be able to share that with other people. Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show and sharing your experience with us today, Heather. It has been a treat getting to chat with you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So how can our listeners get a hold of you and find out more about fleet farming?
So I can be reached personally on my own website. It's Born Harvester, BORN, harvester.com. And fleet farming is fleetfarming.com. And we also are on Instagram and Facebook at Fleet Farming. And so we'd love to hear from anyone interested in starting a chapter or purchasing the franchising toolkit as that comes out. Or if you're interested in just hosting education, any type of lessons on urban farming, the new badge will be out soon as well.
Nice. And they can find out all about all of that through Fleet, FLEET, farming.com.
Yes.
Fantastic. Also, if you go to urbanfarm.org/fleet farming, you will come to the show notes page for this show.
Yay.
Yeah. I love technology when it works. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for joining us on the Urban Farm Podcast.
Thank you.
Decades ago, I started growing food in my front and backyard, and I realized that my mission in life is to inspire and empower others to grow their own nutrient-dense, healthy organic food. Because of this, a lot of people have come to me with their gardening questions over the years, and that got me thinking, what if we put together a community that would help budding gardeners blossom? So I finally made the idea a reality with my Urban Farm U member program. Each month, your membership includes 3 live online events, a monthly class, a chit-chat with an expert, and a monthly coaching session, plus access to the experts on our member page and a significant discount on our signature courses. I'm deeply committed to transforming our global food system, and I do this by empowering you to grow your own food. The Urban Farm Membership Program is a simple way to get going. Please join me in transforming your food system today. To learn more, go to urbanfarmmembership.org or text membership to 33444. That's urbanfarmmembership.org or text membership to 33444.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Urban Farm Podcast. Remember to listen 3 days a week for tips, advice, and resources to help you on your journey with urban farming. You can find us on the web at urbanfarm.org or send us an email to podcast@urbanfarm.org. In the words of Vincent van Gogh, great things are done by a series of small things brought together. Be encouraged that with each lesson learned and skill developed, you are one step closer in the direction of your dreams.